The Ontario Renter. What are the concerns of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and the queer community when seeking rental housing? Discrimination. Discrimination against LGBTQ individuals in rental housing is a significant concern. Housing providers may refuse to rent to same-sex couples or evict tenants based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. A tenant may be evicted after the housing provider discovers that they identify as bisexual. A same-sex couple may be shown only rental units in a part of the city known for having many LGBTQ residents. Landlords may be less likely to make an appointment with gay couples, tell them about fewer available rental units, and quote higher rents. Transgender persons may be told about fewer available units than cisgender individuals. Protection risks. LGBTQ individuals may encounter distinct protection risks because of their real or perceived sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, and/or sex. LGBTQ residents may be harassed or intimidated by their neighbors based on their sexual orientation or gender identity, and housing providers may ignore or fail to stop such harassment. Homelessness. LGBTQ youth are overrepresented in the homeless population, and they may feel safer on the streets than in shelters due to homophobic and transphobic violence that occurs in the shelter system. Lack of specialized housing initiatives. There are no specialized housing initiatives that meet the needs of LGBTQ youth. LGBTQ people with disabilities and LGBTQ people of color may need and receive public housing assistance at higher rates compared to non-LGBTQ people due to discrimination in housing access. Discrimination in senior housing. Older same-sex couples applying for senior housing may be subjected to discrimination. Discrimination in adding same-sex partners to leases. A leasing manager may reject a male tenant's request to add his same-sex partner to his lease. What are some potential consequences for landlords or property owners found guilty of housing discrimination against LGBTQ individuals? Legal penalties. Housing discrimination against persons who identify as LGBTQ violates fair housing laws. The Ontario Human Rights Code prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, and landlords or property owners found guilty of such discrimination may face legal penalties. Monetary damages. Landlords or property owners found guilty of housing discrimination may be required to pay monetary damages to the victims of discrimination. Loss of reputation. Landlords or property owners found guilty of housing discrimination may suffer damage to their reputation, which could negatively impact their business. Landlords or property owners found guilty of housing discrimination may experience decreased business due to negative publicity and loss of trust from potential renters. The Ontario Human Rights Code protects against discrimination in a broad range of areas, including housing. Under the code, everyone has the right to equal treatment in housing without discrimination and harassment. Landlords are responsible for making sure housing environments are free from discrimination and harassment. People cannot be refused an apartment, harassed by a housing provider or other tenants, or otherwise treated unfairly because of their sexual orientation. What can be done about rental discrimination? 1. Support fair and equal housing acts. These acts provide consistent and explicit non-discrimination protections for LGBTQ+ people. 2. Know your rights. The Human Rights Code and Landlord-Tenant Board guidelines prohibit discrimination based on sex, including sexual orientation and gender identity. 3. Advocate for non-discrimination laws. Strong laws that explicitly name sexual orientation and/or gender identity as protected classes in housing are needed. 4. Support LGBTQ+ housing programs. These programs can offer targeted support and a welcoming environment. 5. Conduct research. Research has shown that discrimination against LGBTQ+ people in housing rentals is significant. Conducting research can help identify prevalent discrimination areas. 6. Speak out. Discrimination against the LGBTQ+ community in rental housing is unacceptable. Speak out and encourage others to do the same.